All right, welcome to the Tree Advisory Commission meeting for Thursday, November 5th. I'm Molly Tranel Nelson, and we can go around the room here and say who else is here. Lisa Langer.
Floyd Alwyn.
Advisory member Tom Schmitz from the Park and Recreation Department.
Steve Kaler, City Engineer, also advisory.
Kirk Curry, Street Department.
William Swanson, Energy Services.
All right, thank you. So our first thing on the agenda is to approve the November 5th agenda, and everyone got a chance to look at that. Do I have any motion to approve that or amend it?
I would so move that we approve it.
Okay, I will second that. Thank you. All right, and then the July 2nd meeting minutes, as there was no September meeting, were also sent out earlier and everyone had a chance to look those over. Were there any amendments to those? All right, can we get a motion to approve those as well?
I'll make a motion to approve those minutes.
And I will second that then.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to old business. We have the City Tree Reimbursement Program, the 2015 budget, and the 2016 budget update.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You have in your packet a spreadsheet with the City Tree Reimbursement Program listing the quantity, tree type, and cost and reimbursement. So far this year, we've reimbursed a total of 25 trees that were planted, total cost of $4,900, tree reimbursements of approximately $2,700. So there's still a balance of just $1,600 in the tree reimbursement program on the city side. And I could move into the budget if you don't have any questions.
Okay, we can move on.
Okay, and then on the bottom of that spreadsheet is the budgeted amount from 2015. There was $4,300 in the diseased and boulevard tree programs, $500 in the home show, $400 in the utility billing inserts, $800 in the tree pest policy education, for a total of $6,000. That $6,100 was kind of a carryover for tree planting that was authorized, recommended through this commission and authorized by the city council. I think Tom might have some comments on that later, but that's basically been used up as I understand it. So your 2015 budgeted total was $6,000, and it's basically the same budget request that was put in for 2016, another $6,000.
Right. Do we have any other questions on the budget? All right. And we had one addition. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, Wayne Shopper. Apologize for being late.
No problem. Thanks for coming.
Madam Chair, one more comment on the budget. You've
Sure.
got the 2,418 total available for 2015. The meeting schedule that I see on the bottom of your agenda, sometime between January 7th and March 3rd, the finance director will be asking for a carryover request. So I assume that anything that's left over, we can just, upon your authorization, go ahead and request carryover. That's what we've done in the past,
Okay.
just in case it happens sometime when, if the January 7th meeting wouldn't have a quorum or something. We'll
So do you suggest we do that now then?
yeah, that might be
Okay.
appropriate, yeah.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve the carryover request for $2,418?
So moved.
Okay. And do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Okay.
My only comment, Madam Chair, is there might be a few more tree reimbursements, so whatever the
Understood.
balance is.
The amount would be
Yes.
slightly different, yep.
Could I ask a question?
Sure.
I just wonder what the difference is between the diseased and boulevard tree programs and then the city park and boulevard tree planting expenses, or what, can somebody tell me what those two things, what that is?
I can attempt to tackle that. The disease tree program is, there's a reimbursement for particular disease trees, which basically is Dutch elm disease.
Right.
And I think it's like $50 a tree, and maybe in the future the commission wants to revisit that because tree removal is quite expensive. So that's the disease side of it, and I can get you a little better information on that. We didn't have it in your packet. The boulevard tree program is the reimbursement of up to, I believe it's $125 per tree for trees that are planted in the boulevard that are on our acceptable tree planting list, which, again, we can offer you some more information. But that program basically originated through this group, through this commission. Did I answer your question?
I think you did, because there's another program then with the utility company, right?
That's correct. And I may be able to talk a bit about that program. So through the utility side, there's a shade tree and windbreak program specifically meant to target energy conservation measures. And that's a separate fund from the general city funds for those other programs mentioned. This program is offered through our conservation improvement program funding, meant to reduce kilowatt hour usage.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, and I may add that Williams' program is reimbursable also on private property where the city tree reimbursement is only within the public right-of-way or boulevards. So they have the ability to help property owners on private property.
Did we have any other questions? Okay. I guess we can move on then to the PUC tree reimbursement program. William?
All right, thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. And so far this year, we've spent $3,073.27 for the relief program. And that's approximately what we estimated that we would be at for the entire year. And currently, for rebates being processed, there's actually about another 500 or so left for our Conservation Improvement Program budget. We still have funds remaining, so I plan to allow those additional trees to go through. And in fact, I've received a few more rebates, which may be eligible yet. And those may in fact increase this amount to above that $500. And then for next year's budget, I'm afraid I did not double check my numbers, but I believe I've left it at 3,000 proposed within the Conservation Improvement Program funds. There is some flexibility if there is funding remaining throughout the total. And the total Conservation Improvement Program funds are usually around the $300,000 mark. So the shade tree program is generally a smaller portion of that total. So there may be flexibility for spending over that $3,000. And are there any additional questions that I may be able to answer?
I see that 2 elms were planted, Prairie Expedition, and I don't know anything about that variety. Do you? Is elm still on the list for?
There are
Is
certain.
that the hybrid version?
I believe so, and I can
Okay.
double check on that particular tree. But there are a few elm species that
Hybrids.
are eligible,
Okay.
and they're the hybrids that
Yep.
should be resistant to
Mhm.
Dutch elm.
I just hadn't heard of that. I'd heard of the Princeton one, but not that other one. So. Thanks. Any other questions for William? All right, we can move on then to Buckthorn. And I believe, Ellen, do you have an update for us?
Good afternoon, Ellen Vancura, 833 Cottonwood Street. I'm here to give a little update on the Buckthorn Volunteer Program. Fall's probably one of the busiest activity times. Last summer we had a volunteer for the bike trail, and we also got a grant from Alina. We didn't get the Alina grant this year because I couldn't get 100 people to show up for a group activity. And the volunteer, Nathan Brisky, has finished college. He's back in New Ulm, and he has been doing some volunteer work for us. This year, we've had 2 wonderful days with Sentence to Serve. And what's been good about that is when we had them the last couple years, they would spend 15% of their time cutting and the rest hauling away. And now Tom has hired out the hauling away of all the trees. So it's either hauling them or chipping them. The activity has been for this summer and the fall it's been activity on the golf course. Have any of you seen South Park? That is just a little miracle. Mike and Mary Schneider, who are neighbors, they look right at the park. What was the name of the mower that he bought? Did he buy that or did the city buy it? He bought it himself, right?
Yes, a Jari sickle mower.
Jari sickle mower. And then he recruited friends and some of the people from the Junior Pioneer Park, and basically he's taken out all the second growth. So that was the first park we went to, and they really did a good job. I'll talk about a little more about that. As far as the bike trail, there was an area, probably the most heavily infested area in the bike trail was 16th South. We've been working with private landowners and to start clearing that out. And with the help of 2 days with Sentence to Serve, we've really started to really make a difference there. It looks a lot like South Park. Unfortunately, those heavily infested areas almost have no trees left. But it has to be taken out. The other interesting thing there is South Market Park, and the main thing was that there were so many downed trees. Is that the only little tiny part of town that's never been plowed or is undisturbed? That's what you told me one time.
It's one of our urban wilderness area parks.
Okay.
From 15th south to 12th south on the bike trail.
Okay. Well, there was so many huge, really old trees down that you couldn't even begin to clean it out. So they did. And now we can start actually cleaning out South Market Park to make it look like a park. So that's kind of nice. Junior Pioneer Park, they've worked all summer there. Tom was going to talk to Shells about at least getting rid of their berry trees. I don't know. That's his private little program.
There's been no update on that effort yet, Ellen and commissioners.
It's private property.
Right, but it's still on a list of areas that we'd like to see some buckthorn eradicated from.
Yeah, particularly, at least take away the berry trees to haul them away. And Molly can tell us a little bit about what's going on in Flandreau.
Yeah, just last week, there was a Conservation Corps Minnesota crew there for a week. They're just
Wow.
finishing up today, actually.
Good.
So, yeah. So they've been working pretty hard with brush saws and things like that, so.
Good. I get a feeling that just as I kind of wander around town that people are getting buckthorn, they're taking it out. I'm kind of have worked at cleaning up my own neighborhood. I just talked to a gentleman who owns property right along the Cottonwood River, Little Cottonwood, and they know about it, and he's taking it out. I'm going to contact a couple private landowners there. So I just wanted to, Ann Vogel gets the Mankato paper, and she just showed me that, have any of you ever gone to 7 Mile Creek? That's with the, there was an article about them cleaning out their buckthorn. That was just in the paper and then there was one in invasive species biology, a biology class at Mankato East is. So, you know, this kind of stuff doesn't hurt us either as far as buckthorn awareness. What I think we've been at this for about 4 or 5 seasons. As far as we're always learning, trying to learn about the best way to take it out. There's the best way depends on the site actually. The Buckthorn Volunteer Project has a brush cutter, which I am the owner and just like the sickle more. So we have a brush cutter, which is real useful. And we have use of a sickle mower. And Tom also, we now have a backpack sprayer that has the finest little tip. So we use as little herbicide as we can. So it's also a lot more efficient and 2 hands. And so those are 2 new little tools that we've been using. Who else? I have to thank the Schneiders again for they're the big volunteers. I'm really becoming concerned about garlic mustard. Now, Molly, can you just talk a little bit about that? It's in Flandreau, and obviously if it's in Flandreau, it's going to start
Yeah, I
coming
actually
into our
think,
parks and stuff. So that's what I'd like to talk
for
about.
invasive species, I think garlic mustard is worse than buckthorn, actually. We've had it, I work for the state parks, and we've worked really hard at Nerstrand State Park to keep it. We've had a patch there, and we work every single year with sometimes 4 crews spending very large amounts of money, and we still can't keep it out. So it's really impossible once it's there to keep it out. We've been working at Flandreau every year. There's parts that we've given up on because you just can't, you can't keep it out, and it just spreads seed. This time of year, it's green and it's growing, and actually now's a good time of year to go out and spray it. But yeah,
Spray it?
you can spray it.
What
Yeah.
you spray it with?
This time of year, you could spray with Roundup if there's not native stuff actively growing, or Transline or one of those. But yeah, it's worse than buckthorn because at least with buckthorn, once you get the berry trees and the resprouts, you're pretty good. But the seed source on garlic mustard is just,
Yeah,
and
I'd
it'll
like
grow anywhere. And if you pull it out, it'll keep growing if you leave the plants lay. So you have to
you
bag
have to
everything.
bag it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm concerned, you know, I'm not sure if we have it. I'm sure we have it, but
Yeah, it's all over Flandreau.
yeah. So and that kind of dovetails into the garlic mustard thing, and with all the bare ground we have now, And how to manage second growth is sort of my ongoing concern, trying to learn what best practice would be. Talk to Tom about, if you take down one buried tree, you've got probably 10,000 seeds that have the potential to grow around it. And that's what happened with South Park about early on. We took out the primary growth and it had become blanketed with, you can see where it had been blanketed with second growth. And this sickle mower was real helpful. But how to, and we've been spraying it, and you're not supposed to go by the water. So it's a big problem on how to handle second growth, and there's a lot of spraying. So I asked him whether next summer we could maybe think about hiring someone to spray. The volunteers just can only go so far. But managing all this second growth and also monitoring, I think we should, if we find garlic mustard, we have to start taking it out. Otherwise, it's just going to have garlic mustard on the floor of our parks. And so we'll talk about that more with Tom. That the maintenance of all these 5 years of work, is not going, it's just not going to be, you can't just, nothing's automatic anymore with invasives, right?
Yeah, follow-up is key.
Yeah, so we're a lot of places in the follow-up, and that's just got to be. We've still got all the primary for the, I don't know, for the bike trail, but I would say we've maybe taken out 40 to 50% of the bike trail. So. As far as I've got a long list of to-do. I'd like to revise the information on the website and eliminate, we're not using Tordon anymore. And the last thing is, for years I've been talking about door hangers. I think you approved some money for them. And we have them. I'm just going to pass, may I pass them up?
Oh, yes.
Sure, yeah, let's see them.
And these are the little, should be able to, that we can put them on, and we can stuff extra stuff right on it, yeah. So that's another little project that we need to do. This is to
Thank you.
put on people that on their private property.
Ellen, are you gonna just target certain,
Well, those that have it.
yeah.
So,
You should make a T-shirt like this too.
yes. Well, I wore my Buckthorn T-shirt from Jenna Langer one day. We can put in this little thing. It looks pretty substantial. We can put in the DNR brochure. I can write little notes to them. We can just put little X's on their lot, point out where it is. And, it's going to take, I think, first we have to keep track of what addresses we go to, and if certainly try to talk to people first. You can't look in the phone book anymore. But anyway, so it can get started now. As far as what we can do in winter, I think last year I did 60 hours of buckthorn removal last winter because it was nice. We just don't know how much time we're going to have, and it depends on the weather. But we may still have one sentence to serve. They said after deer season that they might do another day at the bike trail, which is about 30 hours of work versus if I go out for an afternoon, that's 3 hours. You can tell that's a lot different. Always looking for volunteers. I'd love any suggestions, comments. I think that's it.
Ellen, I had a question for you and the commissioners, and then I guess maybe a comment on the buckthorn stuffer. I guess maybe I'll do the comment first. Would
The
it,
door hanger?
or sorry, yeah,
Yeah.
the door hanger.
Yeah.
Would it be possible to put a picture of a buckthorn plant on here in future editions? I guess, it looks like you have the search for the buckthorn sign, but,
I'm going to put in, I'm gonna make up a little, maybe even a piece of paper like this that, you know, the diagnostic is the orange under the bark and the little thing, or that's also in that DNR brochure that I'd like to put in with it.
oh, I see, so there would
Yeah, and
potentially be-
basically, that says if, you know, the easiest way is just to call and then I'll show you all your buckthorn and, you know, identify it.
Okay,
Because people look at it, and my most common, look at it everywhere, and they say, well, I don't even know what it looks like. It really has to be, people need to be shown.
yeah, I was thinking that would
Yeah.
give them an immediate impression of that's what it is, and, oh, yes, I, see it
Well-
in my yard, or,
Well, the only reason they would get one of this is if I see it in their yard.
oh, if it's already
Yeah,
been
yeah.
identified.
This is, you know, just to walk up their sidewalk, and this commission approved that about 3 or 4 years ago, that would be okay to do.
Okay, and then my follow-up question would be, you had mentioned seeding, how to prevent, and I believe that may be in relation to the mustard plant. I guess I'm not familiar with that one myself, but is there a certain time of year, or is it possible to do the removal before the plants reseed?
Yeah, yeah,
And maybe other commissioners would
identified it,
be
yeah.
familiar with that?
Because we have, see, there's, you know, I've talked to Tom, and my concern is, you know, we can just keep plowing it down, but then we're plowing down all the oak seedlings and basswood and da-da-da. And I don't know what the best practice is, you know, and because and then I'm concerned about erosion at South Park, use of herbicides because it's on the creek, but, so I'm just trying to learn if Molly has any suggestions or
The
education.
best suggestion would be prescribed burn.
I know,
Which
and-
isn't really practical for there, so
Yeah.
I would say repeated mowing every 2 to 3 years, at least for a couple times, to get that seed bank released. And then you could back off and see how much is coming back, and maybe then you start going back in just with volunteers and leaving the oaks and other things that are coming up, but taking out just the few buckthorn that are still coming back. We've had pretty good success with just repeated mowing, going in every 2 to 3 years, but then we typically burn after that. But in this case, you just keep mowing.
Well, I saw in the butterfly seed article that you're going to burn out there. Where is that exactly? Is that way out almost before the bridge? North Broadway Park?
Yes, you're referring to
It talks about
2250.
burning. It
Yeah.
talks about burning in the article in the paper today.
Yes, it does, and that has not been approved yet.
Oh.
It's still in concept phase, because it's in city limits, of course. 2250 North Broadway Park, a portion of that park area, another one of our wilderness, urban wilderness areas. A portion of that has been designated as a pollinator park,
Yeah.
butterfly
Good.
preserve.
Good.
And the Park Commission will be reviewing that at their next meeting this coming Monday on kind of initial phases of management plan for that parcel of land. We'll see how things develop out there.
Who's your consultant for that? Do we have someone that?
We've got some consultants from the DNR, and the leader of the group of volunteers is
Oh, yeah, sure. The lady in the
Deb
paper.
Steinberg.
Yeah, that's nice. Does the that was my thought when I read the article. Does DNR consult with, like our city? Could they consult on our city parks? Well, we just got the ultimate consult here. Keep going.
I'm consulting on that project
Oh,
too.
so we've got the consultant here. So, and we just got it. So, again, thanks to, my other question is if it's possible, I don't, how, where Snyder's, you know, they store it in their garage, they haul it. I don't know if you give them gas for it, but it's, you know, my question is there some type of tool that would be useful that to mow, you know, all around all these huge stumps and stuff like that? Like on the bike trail, I don't know. Just
You
gonna-
might want to look into, and I've never used one of these, but I've talked to someone who has, it's called a DR mower, and it's kind of a smaller width, but it can cut buckthorn and that kind of thing. I can get you some info on that if you want to look into that. And I don't know cost or anything, but I know they've used it at Sibley State Park for buckthorn, and they really had good results.
DR.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with that, Tom?
No, not,
And I've
not-
never
not
used
for
it,
certain.
so,
That's a name brand. They have
yeah.
wood, they have stump cutters and
I can, yeah, I'll get you the information on it, but it, basically, it's like a smaller width mower that can go through the brush. So,
Mm-hmm. Well, we're enjoying our little brush cutter. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ellen, for that update. So next we have Mark, who's gonna talk about the Minnesota GreenCorps program.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, I'm Mark Schnobrich. I'm a community forester working with Tom off and on, very limited basis, but I am here tonight to talk a little bit about the GreenCorps, which was brought up a little bit before, and I think, Molly, you had mentioned you have a number of, some information on that also.
Yeah, we're not gonna drop the ball on it this year. so
Okay,
I'm
well, no, I
already-
didn't want to say that.
I've already started on it, so.
Good, well, I have two, so maybe we should
Okay,
collaborate.
Great.
And Tom even brought up the idea that maybe a subgroup, we'll give you a little history. The GreenCorps is funded through the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, and there's a number of tracks within the GreenCorps that communities can take advantage of. Young, energetic GreenCorps people who'll come into your community and do things like, could be green infrastructure, it could be recycling, it could be, well, there's a number of them. Community service, I don't have the list in front of me right now. But I think that you as a tree commission are looking at specifically possibly the green infrastructure portion of that. And that person would, the program is on an 11-month basis. And each year they ask for applications to be submitted in, usually starting in April or so, or March, and then the final decision is made as far away as May. So you were unable to take advantage of that last year, but you're well ahead of the ball game this year, and a lot of planning and application process can take place now, so you should be able to apply. I'm always wondering whether the program is going to be funded for the following year, and I was assured, and you probably know too, that it will be available for the 2016-2017 grant period. And basically this person would come into your community for 11 months on a full-time basis and would work with you directly in doing a number of projects related around green infrastructure and trees. And the I've kind of got started already a number of ideas to get rolling, but Tom made the suggestion that might be too lengthy to do at a meeting like this, and maybe an opportunity to get a subgroup together and put together, and I'd be certainly more than willing to come and assist or help with that. And we could start with your ideas and my ideas, but the program would consist of a number of items that your commission a number of years ago thought was important, and that was a tree inventory, working with an EAB management plan, getting that established. This person could be at the forefront of completing that for you in that 11-month period, I think, and along with a number of other things, plantings and things, working with PUC could be part of it, community education, public education, this person could be helping with that, and working with volunteers possibly to assist with the tree inventory. I know that's been done in a few other communities, getting actual citizens to participate in that, and I think an 11-month time frame would be feasible for this person to accomplish a task like that. So I would hope that you would go ahead with it and go with that. It's a great opportunity. There's no cost to the community. There is no, you're not paying a salary with that. The city needs to provide a workspace, a computer, and hopefully access to some type of a vehicle, and that's about it. And the rest is left, and possibly staff time to Tom or whoever would be managing this person on a daily basis. Or that isn't even, there's requirements within the grant. So many hours a week have to be provided for administrative or assistance with this volunteer, this grant person. So it's a great program. The programs I've seen, the young adults, young graduates, some are in college yet, seem to be the quality of the people are fantastic. Some of the programs that these people have done for the city of Minneapolis, a number of other communities. In fact, Tom made me aware just a little bit ago that you have the a GreenCorps person in New Ulm right now working with, again, Tom?
The Heart of New Ulm project and complete streets and some of those other issues that group is working on.
Wow. So, and you said they're pretty well, this person is moving along pretty well with that.
Yes, so there is an individual in town, a gentleman by the name of Nathan, and he's here for 11 months, being supervised by Cindy Winters in the Heart of New Ulm project, working on walkable communities and the complete streets, safe routes to school, things like that.
So, okay, any questions on that at all?
I would just like to mention that handout that I had just gives more information on the requirements of the host site as we look at that. And then I also have an example of the application from last year, if people want to see that. And just some of the criteria here on how we apply. I did have a question for Tom. Would you envision yourself being the supervisor, or how would that work?
I think that's a very important question.
Or do we need to figure that out
yet?
yet?
Component in question, yeah, I think that needs to be discussed and
Okay.
figured out. As we all know, there's a number of departments, both with the city and the Public Utilities Commission, in which tree activities and green infrastructure activities take place. So I think that's a big question, is who's going to be managing and supervising this participant. A lesser question, I presume, would have to do with office space or workstation and vehicular use, but I think it's going to, and then along with that, we have to figure out what we want this person to do. What is the focus area? They can't do everything. It's a finite amount of time and effort, so I would suggest a subcommittee work on that between now and the next meeting in early January. To come up with a good framework that the commission and the staff advisors can work through, because the deadline will come upon us very quick
Yes,
for application.
I was thinking the same
and
thing.
we'll
that-
miss it for another 2 years if we don't get into this application period that's coming up in the spring.
Okay, do we need to vote to make a subcommittee? Or can we just?
I don't
okay.
think you
I
need
don't
to
think
vote
we
on
do.
that,
Okay,
no,
all
but
right.
you can just
All right, so I
See
guess
wh-
I just need volunteers.
yes.
And I would volunteer to be on that subcommittee and kind of keep things moving with that. Did anyone else want to participate in that?
Molly, I would help you with that. I don't know really what the direction and the ideas are, but I'd be willing to get ideas from others and
Sure,
you and help you with that.
okay. Thank you. And so I have a timeline from last year. It looked like the application was due May 4th of last year. And let's see, we have a January meeting. So we'd have to get something going probably January. And we might
Yes.
have an additional month after that, but,
Mhm. And then the March meeting, maybe take final action, or
okay. All right. So Lisa and I can get working on that, and Tom, we're probably gonna wanna meet with you to discuss some of the office space things and direction and that kind of thing.
A staff member can be available
Okay,
to meet with you also.
okay, Great.
Does the city have to approve this, or the Park and Rec, or, I mean, if they're gonna be supervised by you, or use a city vehicle, does this go, is the process then it goes before the city, Park and Rec committee, or?
Well, it depends, I think, on which department is gonna be the lead department on working with this GreenCorps participant. And so, there would be tree commission action for certain. And then, if it's, an engineering department or a public works department or public utilities or park and rec, that group should, take action to recommend the city council authorize application.
Right.
To simply apply for this as a host site, we would need city council approval to make the application, and the city council normally requests advice from appropriate commissions and boards prior to their action.
All right, and did you have other items you wanted to discuss?
The other item I was going to bring up was the reapplying for the Tree City USA distinction. And go ahead with that at your.
Sure.
Okay. As you know, the Arbor Day Foundation, based out of Nebraska City, Nebraska, has Tree City USA, of which New Ulm has been designated in the past. And basically, there's 4 standards by which a community must meet in order to be awarded the Tree City USA. And that is, you need to have a tree board or a tree commission like you do. You need to have $2 per capita spent on community trees. You need to have a tree ordinance, which this community does, and you need to have and celebrate Arbor Day each year. And you meet all of those criteria and have for many, many years. And it just came to my attention that it was 2008 was the last time that you actually applied for this distinction. So going through and talking with Tom and some of the other members who are here as advisory, who I've now met and have gotten in touch with, that you far exceed that $2 per capita. And basically it's just getting your permission, or Tom's, or just help getting you started on reapplying for that. And basically it just consists of a compilation of what you've done over the year, with the mayor being at the your Arbor Day, which is front page of your journal here, that happened this year on April 24th, or what I think it was, and compiling all that information, getting budgets from all the departments, because New Ulm has, the forestry program is spread out, and a lot of the different departments, engineering, PUC, and so Parks and Recreation, all participate in community forestry activities. All those budgets would then be tabulated and submitted on an application. And that needs to be done and completed by December 31st to the state of Minnesota DNR, who then approve it or disapprove it, and then pass it on to the Arbor Day Foundation in Nebraska. There's no monetary award for that. I know the DNR and urban and community forestry has used that as a basis sometimes when grants become available. Are you a Tree City USA recipient or not? It doesn't exclude people, but it always moves you up. As you know, grants moves you up on the bracket. That basically it says that this community is working with trees, is actively participating in tree care and planning. And that gives you always a better chance for grant opportunities in the future too. So you're far exceeding those standards by a long shot. New Ulm is well above the game in a lot of communities. So it's really worth your time to get that distinction and wear that extra cap and take care of that. So in fact, I got some of the information. Some of the advisors have sent me some information and put that together for you, and I'm working with Tom on that. And I got a lot more information just by sitting here with the state engineer and so on. And I saw Ellen and her Buckthorn program. Volunteers that assist with community forestry programs is also an eligible criteria to put down as community participation. And they rate that at a certain rate, they $7 an hour or so at that rate, that they attribute that as an expense this community has expended towards community forestry. So I'll maybe ask her, or maybe you have some of the other commissioners or some of the other people have an idea of how many hours might have been, ballpark figure as to, I can maybe work with Tom on that or some others, but putting that together. So that would be, I guess, maybe with Tom here and you with the commission, maybe something to either approve or disapprove that you would want to apply for that come December 31st, because you probably won't have a commissioners meeting prior to that. That's the middle of that application, so.
Does anyone have questions? Yep, Ellen?
There used to be a sign out as you came in that were Tree City, and I haven't noticed it lately. When you lose a designation, then you take it down?
I guess I don't know that.
No, the signs are still up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's false advertising now? No.
Wasn't instructed to remove them, so they're still there.
That was my question.
Oh, sorry. Ellen asked if the signs were still up that said Tree City USA when you drive into town.
Actually, what the sign actually does say on there, it says Tree City USA, and I think you even got a growth award at one point in the past, and it says how many years you've had that distinct, kind of like McDonald's that sold 23 million burgers. Well, New Ulm has been a Tree City USA for 11 years, I think it says on there in the past. So, or 10 years, might even be 12. But then you would just, that sign would stay or could be taken down, but you certainly were awarded at one time. And it's just that you haven't been in the last few years, that's all.
Okay. Well, I think it sounds like a good idea to try to get that designation again. Do the commissioners agree?
I agree.
I guess we should vote on that.
Definitely.
Okay. Do I have someone want to move to give Mark permission to go ahead with that application?
Oh, I'd so move,
All right,
by all means.
Floyd, thank you.
I'll second that.
All right, thank you, Lisa. All right, it sounds like we can go ahead with that.
All right, that's all I had this evening.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What do we got here? To keep things moving along, we'll go on to the stuffers from William. Do you have an update on that?
I do have an update. It's not a large update, but so I've obtained the 2016 stuffer schedule, and currently the well, I guess I'll start out with currently the Tree Commission. We do have a reservation for April, so that is one thing to keep in mind. And I believe that spot is pretty much secure. And then we do have additional openings currently for January and February. I would say initially here to try to avoid those months. I know the public utilities and city are trying to start work on online billing and credit card payments. And we may be using those ourselves, so you know, those months are currently open, but especially in January that may be used internally. And then July and August are also open for a potential tree stuffer. So we could discuss if there was another month in addition to April, which we would like to try to reserve. And this would be a great time to you know, get our word in, our story in, to reserve one of those spots. I guess the other thing to consider would be overall printing costs and budgeting amounts.
Can you remind me what we did last year? We did 2 months, correct?
Yep, we did have 2 months, and let me see if I can, so April and August were the
Okay,
2
that's what
months
I
that
was
we
thinking.
used last year.
Yeah.
And Tom may be able to inform us on the costs for those mailers.
I was thinking, with all the bur oak blight and the oak issues this year, that kind of started coming about in August. Maybe next year we would want to do something on diseased tree in August. 'Cause I know there were a lot of questions of homeowners, what's going on with my oaks and that, and maybe next year it won't be so bad, but, that could be an August thing.
I think that's a good idea.
Okay. I don't remember what costs were last year, but I know there was talk of doing like a half sheet to keep the cost low. 'Cause we usually do the big tree for the April entry, correct? Is that correct, Tom?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And
Mhm.
so that would be a full sheet. And then, for the August, we could either do, correct me if I'm wrong, like a partial sheet to keep costs lower.
That's correct, and I would advise a 1/3 sheet.
Okay,
You know, a half sheet, it's a standard mailing envelope, so if it's 1/3, that will fit in individually.
Okay.
Otherwise, the very top would be folded with a half sheet of paper.
okay. So I guess, do we have any motions to take on that second month? Either August or June?
So moved.
Okay.
No second.
you.
I was hoping though that we could have less writing.
Yeah, more pictures?
Yeah. When they have so much to read, I feel that so many people won't even read it. There's too much to read.
Okay,
So
I agree. Yeah, maybe we should try to make it more visually appealing.
Yeah,
Okay,
and the write-up would be more simpler and to the point.
okay.
That can be done.
There is some research that supports that people will only read like 30 seconds worth or something. Yeah.
Mhm.
We'll remember that. Okay, so was that all you had for the stuffers?
I believe that's it.
Okay.
And I can attempt to reserve August for us and report
Okay.
back.
All right, thank you. Floyd or Wayne, did you have anything for the big tree contest update?
Yeah, I can start, and Wayne, you can
Sure,
add
sure.
whatever you want. Wayne and I feel that we should, with the confusion we had last year, or that is this year, that we should have it as the homeowner property owner. Not with all the submissions we had last summer that were friends of the same tree. So it would, isn't that what we agreed?
That is correct, Floyd, yes.
Yeah, that
Mhm.
we would definitely have it so that it would be the homeowner or the property owner, so.
Okay.
And if that person doesn't submit, well, that's his own fault then, and that's,
Yes, the tree in question was on a rental property, am I correct?
Yeah.
And was submitted by the rental property owner
and they're friends.
and their friends.
Yep.
And so, in effect, if the tenant wished to submit the tree, that would not be a problem, correct?
Well, it goes back to the property owner.
Okay. So where should we go with that? I would assume that we're gonna revise the language in the flyer, is that, or in the contest?
Yeah, so that
Okay,
the eligible one would be the property owner or the homeowner.
right, okay.
So if the property owner doesn't list their tree, but the next door neighbor lists that person's tree, then would the next door neighbor get the prize? Or who?
No, it still goes back to the property owner.
Oh,
Mhm. And if that property owner doesn't submit an entry, well, that's his own fault.
I've got a question on how you're gonna verify the property owner.
I was just wondering if it's on the property line, like the trees in my yard.
Yeah,
I don't
well,
know who
that
owns
could be
them.
a problem. Well, the property owner would have to go back to the tax rolls then.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If there's any question,
Madam Chair, so the application can only be submitted by the person that has the tree on their property, is what you're saying?
property, yep,
It makes sense to me, yeah.
yeah.
I have a little question. If we make it a contest, like I was assuming it's been for the last several years, and a Boy Scout who's looking for another award or another step towards Eagle stomps through the city and finds this tree, and whether or not the homeowner has already nominated that tree, and this, I'm saying Boy Scout, Girl Scout, forestry student finds it, is it possible that there could be, one, an award for the property owner, and two, an award for the first one who nominated it?
No, because we had that trouble last year. We had all kinds of nominations from the renter and the neighbors and friends for that same tree.
How about if they put a date on it?
No, no,
Well, I'm just saying because it's a contest, and if it's a citywide contest and you don't happen to have a big tree on your lot, there's no sense for you to go looking for big trees, or the young kids or younger students have no reason to go look for a big tree because there's no reward, there's no prize, there's no piece of candy waiting for them at the end of the string.
true.
So that's why I'm just wondering if there could be a double award. Owner of the tree, yeah, who's ever got that big tree, great. And also the first person to submit that, hey, there's a tree that might be the biggest.
What if we allowed submittal of a tree that wasn't on your property if it already hasn't been submitted? Or would that just further confuse things? So if you found a big tree elsewhere and you submitted it and that homeowner has not submitted it, then you could be the person to submit for that tree.
That's what happened last year.
But you're saying several people did it to
Several
the same
people
tree
did,
and then, okay.
That's what we wanted to avoid.
Did you look at dates, though?
Oh, sure.
So it would be the first person, so it's not on my property, but 3 people identified it, but the very first person who sent in their entry would be the winner.
And see, that's the trouble we had last year.
So it keeps it simpler just to go with homeowner then,
That's what Wayne and
Yeah.
I have decided.
okay.
Floyd and I discussed this earlier today, that's correct. Yeah, well, that's our we move that amendment, or whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's the property owner.
What if it's
Okay.
in a park or city-owned property or a business, or is it just, are we talking just
Well, then,
private? I mean, what if the biggest tree is in a park?
no, that's when the property owner question becomes questionable. Yeah, in other words, if it's,
Well, then we'd probably look at dates, I would assume. I would assume we're not excluding property, public-owned property from the largest tree contest, correct? I mean, didn't we look at a park?
Parks
could be
and-
a
Yeah.
publicly.
Didn't we look at a tree was in a park last, I can't
And
recall.
Who wins?
To me, it would be the person who submitted it.
Right.
Said, this is the biggest tree, and
Oh, that part.
So you could have it on private property or public property. If it's on private property, it's the homeowner. If it's on public property, it's the first one to submit. And it's,
Yeah. that
I
would
don't think
work
it has to
then.
be
In a
real
nutshell,
difficult.
you're correct, yeah.
Yeah, okay, that would work.
Okay. All right, so is that what you're moving to propose for?
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Oh, I'll second that one then, so we have the two distinctions.
All right, do we have any opposed to that? Hearing none? Okay, so that's what we'll do.
Okay.
So just for the record, the homeowner on private property
Yeah.
and the first to submit it
First
on public
submitted on
property.
public property.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, anything else with the big tree? So what is the 2016 species and timeline I have here on our agenda?
Yes, maybe further discussion before we, I guess the motion is essentially complete, but I guess we
Okay.
could maybe submit a new motion. If, I guess what do we do if the homeowner refuses to accept the tree? You know, say, I guess if someone submits for a tree and the homeowner has not done a submission, would they be contacted first, or does it go through, does it just give priority status to the property owner?
As I understand it, Madam Chair, you can't submit an application unless you own, the tree is on your property or it's on public property. So that wouldn't be a case in my mind,
Oh, I see.
because I couldn't submit a tree on your property because I don't own that property. At least that's how I kind of
That was
see
my
it.
understanding
Yeah.
as well.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, thank you for the clarification on that.
Okay. So species and timeline. Have we thought at all about a species?
No.
No. Oh, because we've used up all the
All the easy
common
ones.
I think
And
we should
what's
maybe
left?
start over at the beginning, but we'd probably get the same trees nominated, so yeah, we'd have to
Maybe
come
we
up
want to
with-
have a biggest buckthorn contest.
Neighbor would win.
But it's true, we've had this 7 years, and those are all the common ones that people can identify very easily, because what's left are paper birds, weeping willow, tamarack, river bird, soft maple, mountain ash, locust, and catalpa.
So we've done walnut. and
There are a few, yeah.
No, we haven't done
we
walnut.
haven't done walnut. What's the list of trees that have been done?
Ash, oak, maple, hackberry, elm, linden, and cottonwood.
Walnut would be easy to
Do
identify.
walnut.
Walnut could be,
Yeah,
that would be
If
identified.
we need a motion on that, we could.
all
Okay.
right.
Well, I make a motion that we have walnut as our 2016 large tree. There's quite a number around, as I recall.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
seen
Yeah.
some in yards.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Okay. All right, do we have a second for that?
I'll second that one.
All right. Does anyone oppose to that? Okay, motion passes. Walnut
Julie.
is the tree. There we go, yeah, I like it. And our timeline for that, so we would go with the April stuffer again, and the same, probably deadlines similar to last year, which we can talk about at our next meeting, I'm guessing.
Seemed to work well.
Okay. All right, so then we have the home show coming up, 2016. Do we have any updates on that?
Madam Chair, I would only suggest that you think about that between now and the next meeting and make a decision at the next meeting.
Okay.
Because that'll come up, the home show's in March.
March.
And, you
When are
wanna-
the
What are the
payments
dates? Do you
due,
have that?
or?
I'm sure application will come up in January to
Okay.
get registered for a booth at the home show.
All right,
So just think about what you want to do or on that topic and make that decision in January. Unless you want to do so now, commit to it and authorize staff to register us. You could take that action now.
Sure.
just to remind folks, last year we shared a booth with the city to keep costs low, and I worked that, and I felt that seemed fine. With the Park and Rec, we shared a booth with. So, yeah, it did help with cost. All right, do we have a motion to just approve that today?
That's so move. That
Okay.
we definitely want to be there,
Yeah.
2016.
And
Mhm.
I'll second.
All right. Sounds like we can go ahead with that application then. So EAB planning, I do not have any updates. In the interest of time, I think we can just skip on. The forester position, also no updates, I'm guessing. Tree survey, any updates? Okay, bur oak blight, I just have a slight update on that. The whole southern region of the state seems to really be impacted with the bur oak blight this year, and just from the different parks that I've been in, it's everywhere from the west to the eastern, and you know, I don't know if it's all these wet springs, and then we had a continually wet summer this year, but this year seems to be the definitely a bad case of it. And there's also been more reports of oak wilt in new areas as well. So that's just something to keep an eye out for when they're already stressed with bur oak blight, then other diseases can start coming in too. So do you have any update for the city regarding that? Okay. So then we have the Center Street Hill Tree and Shrub plantings. Tom?
One tiny short update, Madam Chair and Commissioners, is that there's been no comprehensive plan developed. We're still looking at options there, and it's kind of a long-term study, I think, to decide what can be done on the hill. But there is a small clump of mixed vegetation and mostly undesirable exotic type species at the bottom of the hill, just west of or uphill from Garden Street on the north side. And we do have a plan to thin that out and remove the undesirable species and exotic species from that little clump there. That's it for an update on the Center Street Hill.
Okay. All right. Other tree plantings?
Yes, the only update there is that this goes back to action that the commission and the city council took in 2013 to authorize $6,100 be spent from the tree commission budget for more tree plantings in park and trail areas. And so therefore in 2014, we had a purchase order approved. There was a group, the $6,100 was grouped with $10,000 of park and rec budget for a $16,050 purchase order for 49 large trees to be planted. And so that was that purchase order was approved in 2014, and the plantings finally got taken place this year in 2015. All those trees have been planted at Steinhauser Park and the Recreation Center, Harmon Park, Miller Park. I think there was one other park, but the report is that money has been spent and those trees have been planted.
Total of 49.
Yes.
Wow, that's nice.
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
All
the
right.
extent of that report.
Thank you. We have already done the Tree City USA, so then we're on to new business. 2016 officers. I don't have a list of who is up for, it sounds like I'm up for renewal. Okay, thanks. Yep, that's the list we were looking at. So, who expires other than me? Oh, Heather's gone.
I've got that information here.
Okay.
Of course, Lisa's on until the end of 2017. Floyd is on until the end of 2017. Wayne is on till the end of next year, 2016, along with Scott Sparlin. So Molly, you're the only one that's completing your first term at the end of this year, 2015, and you are eligible to serve a second term.
And I just heard you say you were running for a second term, so.
Now make a motion.
I would be willing to go for a second term for as long as I'm able to serve. We'll put it that way.
Very good. Good.
Okay.
And so for officers, you are the chair, as we know, Molly, and Floyd is the vice chair. And so you need to determine who your officers are going to be for next year now.
So I get to step down? No, I'm just kidding. So I guess you willing to still be?
I was just gonna say that if you are here, then you don't need me as vice chair. Keep coming.
I may not always be here, so. But, yeah, if you wouldn't mind still being vice chair,
Well, reluctantly.
okay. Do we need to vote on that? or-
Yes,
Okay,
please.
I assumed we don't just get to appoint ourselves. All right, do we have a motion for myself to be chair and for Floyd to be vice chair?
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Second.
No, okay.
Any opposed? Not Floyd.
Yeah.
All right, that passes. You're stuck with it, Floyd.
Yeah.
You're stuck with me.
Well, I hope you keep coming.
I only get one vacation a year, so I can't use that excuse next time. All right, so our next meeting is Thursday, January 7th, again at 4 p.m. here. And that's all we have. All right, meeting is adjourned.